Oh, he's going to be there.
Make it big.
Here.
Right.
I can't have that.
Mute.
No, his has to be.
Mute. Say something.
Can you hear me?
I can.
Oh, thank you. I'm just checking. Thank you.
Say hello. Can you hear me? Testing.
Hola.
Usted está aquí para el...
Desde María.
Ajá, exacto, yo también.
¿Y usted se llama?
Yo soy Marisa, yo soy la mejor amiga de Cecilita.
Ok. Ok, encantada. Yo soy María Alexi. María Alexi Benavides. Y yo soy... y mi papá. Él conoce al papá de Ser María.
Ya veo. Yo nunca lo conocía y yo conocí a mamá.
Usted conoció a Maruja. Nosotros
sí. Porque Maruja es la tía de Juan.
Es verdad.
Mejor amiga. Sí.
Ya entiendo.
¿Quiere hablarle una cosa?
Y ellos están en Miami.
Sí, no puedo hablar ahí.
Tú puedes hablar, tú puedes hablar, papi.
Esther María era mi otra hija.
Bueno, no empezaba.
Era mi otra hija.
Ajá.
Yo era el papá de ella.
El segundo papá.
El segundo papá.
Okay. All right. Yo no necesito que tú hagas eso porque
no me ve.
Un second.
Yo estoy segura cuando empiezan cortan lo que uno está diciendo.
Eso es lo que me imagino. Oh, mute.
They'll put it on mute for everybody.
Right, good. Yeah, because it's hard.
I'm sure that will happen. Yeah.
Yes. Safford? Come here, please. How do I mute myself here?
I think they do it, whoever is
Right, they
doing
do it automatically, but
yeah.
Mhm.
At least when I've been with bigger groups, they normally do it automatically.
Hit the man, not the click. Hit the man. Hit the little man. Okay.
Hey.
So we've had 30 years of bringing joy and books to kids in need. Over that time period, First Book has delivered more than 200 million brand new books and resources with a total value of more than $2 billion. That's billion with a B. And we're very proud of that record of success, because we know that those resources fuel learning and they open educational opportunities for millions and millions of kids every single year who need our help. Now, I will say that we have a special place in our hearts for Disney, for our Disney family, because they've been so central, you have been so central for all these decades. And that's especially true right here on The View, because you've been such an important part of the magic of storytelling for all of these years. So to thank you, First Book has decided to distribute 1,000 books in each of the names to a nonprofit serving children in need in your hometowns and with causes that you care about.
Excellent. Listen, thank you, Kyle. And for more information on the wonderful charities which are receiving books in our name, go to our website. You can learn more about the campaign at magicofstorytelling.com. And as we go to break, take a look at the first time the Magic of Storytelling PSA that I did is going to be done. I narrated it. Go ahead. We're gone.
Depression makes it hard for me to follow through with my plans. My antidepressant helps, but there are times I still feel depressed and make excuses not to go out. Is it just me?
No. Many people taking antidepressants still have some symptoms. When taken with an antidepressant, Rexulti was proven to reduce depression symptoms an extra 62% compared to the
I think somebody's playing something. Can you just mute it and we'll be on in a few minutes.
Elderly dementia patients have increased risk of death.
There we go. Thank you. We'll be
That was
right
me.
back. We'll be back in a second. Thanks.
you.
So, wait a minute. Already on. I see my video. And here I am. Okay, Carlos Martinez. Okay. Are you on yet? Oh, they're already talking. I mean, they're not talking about her yet or anything.
No, we haven't started yet.
Yeah, they haven't started yet.
Hello, everyone.
Hi.
Hello.
Girl and boy, so don't let the sun catch you crying. We know that crying's not a bad thing, but stop your crying when the bed sings. It may be hard.
Sorry about that. That was quite loud. And what we wanted to do is show us some video with some photos and some music, but you may have to adjust your sound. And we'll be starting at noon. This was supposed to be playing now.
Hello.
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 Hi, Ceci.
Hi.
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 Cecilia, you're on your first Zoom and you're doing it well.
We were able to do it. That's great.
What happened?
What happened now?
No, we can see you and we can hear you.
Oh,
Okay.
good. And there's more people joining in. I see it. Okay, good.
Yeah.
Hello,
You guys.
Can
Maybe.
I can see Linda. Is that Linda?
you hear me?
Linda, we can see you and we can hear you.
Oh, you can hear me. So I pushed the space bar to mute myself.
Yes, and we can see you too.
I'm here.
How do I? Oh, mute my audio.
No, right? I'm on mute.
Can't see you.
Can you guys hear me?
Was
Yeah.
that
Yes, I can hear. Yes.
I'm Alpha, by the way.
Is that you?
Let me turn this off.
Okay, if you turn it off.
So you may want to mute your sound until it's time to talk or to say hello. And
Carlos, I don't know where to do that.
No, we're ready.
that's
We're ready.
okay. As long as you're not saying anything, we're good. So I wanted, first off, I want to go ahead and thank everybody who has logged on. It's really quite a collection of people from outside of the office, from the office, and people who used to be with the office. It's a sad occasion, but I can assure you, as many of you know, that Esther would actually smile.
Yes.
If saw this many people recognizing her, even though she didn't like public recognition. At least not while she worked with us. So let me introduce myself. I'm Carlos Martinez. I'm the Miami-Dade public defender. And I really had the honor of working, excuse me. I had the honor of working with Esther for almost 20 years. And now I have the privilege of having, I'm not gonna show you with the camera, but not even 5 feet away from me is Pepa. And Puma,
Thank
is right
you.
under here looking at me like, why are you talking? But I have the privilege of being their parent now. But I can tell you one thing, and you will hear different things from different folks. One of the things that I really regret is that a lot of us do not get to know each other that well when we're working with each other. We find where people are at that moment in time, and we get to know them at that moment in time. But a lot of times we don't explore who they were, what their likes were, who their friends were, what their preferences were. And it's been rather eye-opening being part of this process, particularly in the transitioning of Esther transitioning and getting to know her neighbors, getting to know some of her friends, and getting to know her family, that she really is not who we thought she was in our office. We all saw her as a super serious woman that was totally focused on work and her cats. And I was amazed to find out so many things about her in terms that, I didn't realize that she was disco dancing when I was disco dancing. And also, the fact that she was a certified scuba diver. Who the heck knew that? And I found out through this process, the grieving process, about, the many aspects of Esther that made who Esther was, that were really fascinating and did not fit so well into our preconceived notion of who Esther was. And so in some ways, it's a wonderful thing to find out. In other ways, it's kind of sad that we didn't know those things. So one of the things that I hope that, when we have this celebration of life for her, that we will go forward really committing ourselves to learning a little more about each other, and about what things went on, previously. There are some of us that don't like to share. So there may be some people that are like, no, I'm not going there. But there are other of us that, really we would like to know, who an individual is and, how they got to where they are and what are some of the influences on them. So I want to first thank Cecilia and Juan. They have been fantastic in working with us in trying to make sure, particularly they were working with Esther and with the neighbors that were assisting Esther, particularly as she was going through treatment and going through her very difficult time. I want to thank you all for what you did for, our family member. In the public defender's office, we like to say that we're a family. And in reality, we know we're a family when we reach these points in time where people are going through a difficult time and people who actually step up to assist and to make things better. So I want to thank you all for being here, and welcome to this celebration of life. There are a couple, I want to make sure, particularly the family members and friends, that they know that we have some other folks around. So we have Carrie PD, is actually Carrie Howitt. She is the public defender for the 15th Judicial Circuit, which is Palm Beach. Kathy Smith is also, hi Carrie. Kathy Smith is also an elected public defender, like Carrie, but Kathy Smith is out on the West Coast in the 20th Judicial Circuit, which is Lee County, Charlotte County, and I forget the other ones.
Collier.
And Collier, all right. But she's on this. There are also other folks on here from the Florida Public Defender Association and people who've had involvement with Esther in her professional life and in how she interacted. And she interacted with other public defender offices, so it's important for folks to know. We've also had folks reach out to us and let us know how they were and how they knew Esther and the things that they knew about Esther. One of those folks could not be on here, and I will, if Cecilia can't do it, I will read his comment to us later, and that was Mike, that she knew him from the University of Miami. Also on here is one of our very good friends, Anna. Anna, wave so that everybody knows. Is Anna here? Oh, okay. And I know that Viviana Salmon may be on, and Maria Benavides may also be on. Some former people from the Public Defender's Office. From North Carolina, we bring you Robert Copel. And thank you, Robert, for being on. And I saw Judy a little bit ago. She came in, so it was great to see you. Linda, I don't even know where you are anymore, but Linda Barocas was with her office for 35 years, and she retired, so she's on. And Linda used to be in charge of our HR. Plus, she wore many hats in the office, and she worked closely with Esther for at least 10 years that she worked closely with Esther. And Robert used to be our training director, and he had many other positions in the office as well. So thank you for coming back. And then I know I saw Rory a few minutes ago, but Rory Stein used to be our general counsel. He was our go-to person. He was a trainer. He was a supervisor. He did everything there was to do in the office other than being the actual public defender. But he was actually the unofficial public defender as well. And so Rory retired, and he's also on here. There's one of our other co-workers, Maria Provost Heron. I think she was going to be on. I don't know if she's on, but I wanted to welcome her to this. So I wanted to start out with a little, and I think you all know that Esther worked with us for almost 20 years. It felt like a lot longer because she was part of the family. And so I wanted to read the first remarks that I wanted to read is from the public defender, my predecessor, Brandon Brummer, who was actually the one who hired Esther with Mark Weinstein, who used to have the job before Esther had it. So Bennett said this, in the late 1990s, our public defender's office knew that Mark Weinstein would be leaving after 23 years of foundational work building our office. We conducted a broad search for an expert in state and office fiscal and budgetary matters, who would likely be able to fill Mark's big shoes. From among the many qualified candidates we interviewed, we chose Esther Liu as the most likely to succeed in this huge role. Esther was successful beyond our high expectations, professionally and personally. Esther was dedicated to public service, to our office, and to her colleagues. She performed her critical role with the highest professionalism and integrity. She earned our love and respect because she was not only intelligent and incisive, she was a warm, kind-hearted human being. Esther will be sorely missed. And that was signed by Bennett Brummer. And I wanted to see if Anna, I don't know if Anna Sanchez was able to log on.
Carlos, I'm here.
Oh, perfect. So Anna, I don't know if you wanted to go ahead and read or just to give us some comments.
I'll do my best.
Okay.
Let's see. When I was about 20, a mutual friend, she introduced us, and we used to hang out all the time, every weekend. Coconut Grove, that was way before Brickell was popular. We used to hang out in the Grove. We probably were disco dancing at the same time, Carlos. And we used to go to Biscayne Baby, Scaramouche, clubbing all the time. Yeah, and we had a lot of fun. We did a 21-day trip in Europe where we drove ourselves. We rented a car. We drove ourselves. Esther at the time was working in banking, and she had a lot of business trips to Boston. She was 4 years ahead of me. I was a starving college student. So every time she tripped, I'd pack my bags and I'd ride her coattails and get a free room while she worked. I was out sightseeing, and then on the weekend, we'd make a point to, rent a car and tour around. So we did some nice sightseeing in New England. We did an incredible trip to Cape Cod. We went skiing. We took a lot of trips. And in our single years, my single years, we hung out. Who may get on the call, but they work during the day. And anyway, it was great times, the best times of my young adult life. Then we went our separate ways as far as hanging out together, but we always stayed in touch. I got married, divorced, and we'd always talk, holidays, unfortunately, if someone passed. And then all of a sudden, she starts calling me, asking me for advice about the colonies, because she knew I was always, involved with animal welfare, and I was always a big cat person, in addition to dogs. We talk, and next thing I knew, a couple years later, she was deep into it and wanted nothing but the use animal public health programs. Doted on her rescues, private vets. I always was just impressed how she could do all of that. And we did some trapping together, and I did some fostering for her. And so I know how deeply passionate she was about this work, and also her job. Very dedicated to her work. If there was 2 seconds to chat, it was gotta go, call you on the drive home. Anyway, the job was a big part of her life as well. And She'll be missed.
Cool. Thank you.
Oh, one more thing. I can't tell you enough, Carlos, what you taking
You're sort of breaking
meant
up.
to her. I just can't tell you enough that the work that you're doing with those kitties is what they need, and it's the next best. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Anna. And thank you for helping me bring them home, because it was not easy, because they were pretty traumatized by her passing.
Yes.
And I needed your help. And you had Bibiana help me out in trapping them so I could bring them home. Thank you for that.
Takes a village.
Yeah. So, Cecilia, did you want to go ahead and let me, I need you to unmute. Just hit, there you go, you got it.
Okay.
So, so I'd like for you, for you and Juan, you or Juan, to give us a few thoughts, and then if you wanted to read Mike's statement, go ahead. If you wanted me to do it, I can do it. So it's up to you.
Okay, I'm gonna let Juan go first and then I'll go second.
Perfect.
Thank you, Carlos. It's nice to see how many people love her at work and around. My name is Juan Gonzalez, for those that do not know. My cousin Esther left Cuba with her mother and me in 1961. She was only 4 years old, and even at that age, she was very compassionate and sometimes feisty child. Later on, because I was older and a teenager, I used to bother her often. And I still remember one day, after a particularly stinging badgering, she retaliated by throwing a can of Kirby black bean soup that found repose on my sore head. And of course, that was the last time I bothered her. She attended Loyola High School, graduating with top honors. And it was around that time and after that, even though she was a very private person, she enjoyed life at its fullest. While traveling with her friends, some of them, Anna is one of them, to islands and beaches in summer and to the mountains to ski in winter. She was also an accomplished ocean diver, which I didn't know, and enjoyed herself while at the same time becoming a certified advanced rescue diver. Throughout her life, she was very compassionate and generous person that gave her time and money to worthy causes like St. Jude Children's Hospital, Miami Rescue Mission, and multiple other causes. Last but not least, her ultimate passion was animal rights and the caring of her cats and other cat colonies around her home. She was a caring person, and I am sure that God has her with him. Thank you. And now Cecilia is going to say something.
Thank you.
Yeah, Carlos. So I met Esther. Well, I met when I was 15. Esther was like 9. And when I had my daughter, of course, she's the godmother of my daughter. And when my daughter got married, she was there to put the mantilla on my daughter. And then my daughter's kids and my son's kids became part of her,
Wow.
Until she decided to do only cats. But before she did cats, as we all can see, she did have a life. And going through all those pictures, Carlos, we realized how much fun she was, really. So I felt happy to know that she was very involved in different things before she decided to do only the cats. And by going through all the pictures, we saw a different Esther, right? And then I realized that she was very giving. She gave to I don't know how many different charities everywhere. I feel very happy in a sense that I was able to do whatever she wanted at the very end. I took her to all the doctors. I took her to the biopsy, to do the port. And then when the chemo started, I thank Mike and I thank Eduardo and Pedro, her neighbors, because without them, we wouldn't have been able to have done this. And then to you, Carlos, thanks to you, she died at her home with her 2 cats. And now you have her 2 cats. So we did her wish. We did accomplish what she wanted, died at home with her 2 cats. I know it was difficult to get them because I was there and we had to call Anna. We had to call Anna for help. And Viviana, which I didn't meet Viviana, but she came to the rescue too. So Esther gave, but she received at the end. Okay, so I have a letter from Mike. Mike wanted to be here, but he has a doctor's appointment. So Mike went to UM with Esther. So here's his letter. His name is Mike Rodriguez Figueras. And it goes, Esther and I went to the University of Miami for undergraduate degrees during the same years, 1973 to 1977. Additionally, during those 4 years, Esther and I worked together at UM's chemistry department labs under the work study program. Esther was a very smart and dedicated student who had excellent grades. The legal briefs that she wrote for our business law classes were outstanding and often praised by her professors. During those 4 years and several years after that, Esther and I, along with friends from UM, would go dancing on many weekends, nights to clubs and discos. Esther definitely had the Saturday night fever and was a wonderful disco dancer, which unfortunately I was not. She tried to no avail to teach me the disco moves, but it was a futile endeavor. Regardless, we all had a lot of fun during those days. Esther and I maintained our friendship throughout the years, always reaching out to each other and often meeting for lunch during our birthdays and Christmas holidays. This past February, I got more involved with her life again, as she asked me whether I would be able to drive her to her chemo and other medical sessions when the other, like Juan and I, when we weren't able to do it, and or her wonderful neighbors, Pedro and Eduardo, which have been just the best, were not able. Consequently, we were able to share some wonderful conversations to and from her hospital sessions. Esther never complained about the chemo, the transfusions, or dehydrations. Her main concern was not being able to care as much for not only her precious Puma and Peppa, but the many cats that she used to feed all over her neighborhood. I once even told her that she was the Mother Teresa of Hialeah cats. By the way, before the cats became her preferred companions, Esther had several dogs that she loved and cared for many years. Not surprisingly, Esther was very devoted to St. Francis of Assisi, who is known to have deeply cared for all of God's creatures. I will miss Esther and am very thankful for her boss and friend, Carlos, for continuing to care for Puma and Peppa, whom she loved very much. I know that she's looking down from heaven and seeing that they're definitely in good company. Mike. Okay, Carlos. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank everybody that really played a part. When we didn't think that she was very to herself, and I said, how are we going to handle this? Everybody came forward. Yeah. So it does take a village. Mm-hmm. And she had the village.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank
you, God.
And I want to make sure that that we thanked, I don't know if Tenzi's on.
Oh, that's right, Tenzi, that's right.
Tenzi, are you on? I don't see Tenzi on.
I am. I'm on.
Oh, there you are.
But
okay.
I don't do Zoom like I do Teams as much, so I don't. Here we go. Hi, everybody.
I'm sorry, Tenzi. I'm sorry, Tenzi. Thank you, Tenzi, also, because you and Carlos and Tenzi went every other day to take care of the cats. Thank you so much.
It was my pleasure. Esther was very special. And we loved her very much. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Tenzi. So I know that some of you wanted to say some things. So for those of you who can figure this out, there's a chat function. If you just put your name in there, or if you just do this, wave your hand, I'll be able to call on you, and you can share with us, memories or anything that you want to share about Esther. Alba, go ahead. Make sure you unmute.
Okay, I got
There
it.
you go. We got you.
Well, I've known Esther since I was born. She's a sister to me. Our parents, my father and her parents, were very good friends. So I feel like I've lost a sister. I skied with Esther. I had trips in New York City with Esther. And I remember when I used to wear furs, Esther used to drive me crazy about it and tell me how could I do that. But I don't wear them anymore. But I just want to thank everybody. And I'm so happy to know that you have her cats. And that she had a lot of people to care about her. Thank you.
Thank you, Alba. Really appreciate that. And I got a text that let me see, that Rory wanted to speak, and then Maria, and then I think Maria Beovides also wanted to say something.
I'll go, Carlos, thanks. First, let me apologize. I'm noticing that my new identity is up there now, Pops. Once I left the public defender's office, I no longer, with Rory Stein, I became a grandparent full time. So that's me, Pops. My wife is Nanny. But it's good to see all the people that are on this call. It's gratifying that so many people cared about Esther. One thing that just strikes me right from the jump is that I would bet most people aren't going to talk about this because it's understood. She was so amazingly good at her job, just absolutely terrific. I know she made my job much, much easier. I had the good fortune, I was in the administration for 27 years, so I was there the whole time that she was there. And she was just great at it. And she helped us through probably one of the worst times that we could have had when Carlos first became public defender, not because he was becoming public defender, it's because the economy was so bad. And I used to tease him at the time that, why are you running to be the captain of the Titanic? Things are terrible. And Carlos and Esther made it work. They made it work for everybody who worked there. Nobody was laid off. There were no furlough days because she was just magical with the money. And with Carlos's guidance, they just did it. And speaking of that, when I first encountered Esther, she was so serious on the outside. You could be completely misled about who she actually was. And my first impression was, because she was a CPA, she would be like most accountants I knew, which I've always thought that there's no better cure for insomnia than to be in a room full of accountants. But she wasn't like that. And I know when I used to go into HR to do business or in the business office, I wouldn't leave without joking with the women who were there, do a minute or two of stand-up comedy just to make their day a little bit better. And Esther would come out of her office every single time. And the first few times when she came out, I thought it was because she was going to yell at me. I was making so much noise. She came out because she wanted to join in and laugh. And she had an amazing, dry sense of humor. And she would inevitably pull me into her office, and we would sit and we would talk. And I got to know how wonderful this woman truly was. And we went through some difficult times. When she had to testify in the workload case, she was scared to death. And I kept telling her over and over again, I'm going to be there for you. Nothing's going to happen to you. Nothing's going to happen to you. Because I knew how smart she was, that she was going to make it work no matter what. But in an area that she didn't feel comfortable with, she wanted the assurance, and I tried to provide that for her. All told, it was a tremendous work environment for me. I was there till 2016, and every time that I worked with her was a pleasurable moment to the extent that she did everything she could to say yes. She did everything she could to facilitate what we were trying to do in the office, and she was great at it. So it was a privilege to work with her. It was a privilege to know her. I was very sad when I got the news that she passed away, and I'm sure she's greatly missed in the office, and she's greatly missed to her friends, who are apparently many. So thanks, Carlos, for doing this. Thanks for the opportunity to give me a chance to speak about her. She was a terrific, terrific lady.
Thank you, Rory. And I think I said Maria PH, but it really was Maria Beovides.
Right, that's hi, hola, hola.
Hi.
Hi, hello. Buenas tardes, good afternoon to everyone. And like Carlos said, my name is Maria Alexi Benavides, and this is my dad, Ernesto Benavides. And I'm just happy to have been given the opportunity just for a few minutes to talk about or give you some words about my journey with Esther, because all of us had a journey with her throughout her whole life. And so what I'd like to do, we're gathering here, or we've gathered to celebrate her life. And we celebrate that. We celebrate that. And I want us to just take a minute. And I was saying, how am I going to tell all these people that I don't know? I know Esther Maria, because to her, I didn't call her Esther. Her name is Esther Maria. And I am Maria Alexi. Right? So that's how Cubans are, right? But Esther Maria and we've been childhood friends. We just happened, we were both born in Cuba. We're 6 months apart. I'm going to tell you a story, a short story, and you'll understand her even a little bit better. So I just want us to look at it. What we're doing today is a stained glass window. And you know how a stained glass window has pieces. And so all of us are a piece in that window. So I'm going to share with you my piece. So, which is it's funny. And remember that as the sun, right, shines through that stained glass window, it suddenly becomes alive. And that's what we're doing here today. So my story is, like I told you, we were born 6 months apart. She was in September, me in March. Of course, I was 6 months older than her. Her dad and my dad shared a law firm in Cuba together. So I was born first, and I always told her that. So I had clout over her. And so when I was born, my mother, at that time in Cuba, before we came to this country, my mother, there was a seamstress. They made a dress for me. And so I got a picture taken with my dress, and my dad in his law firm put it in his desk. So when Esther Maria was born, her mother, Maruja, because Maruja and my mom were great friends as well, and she went to the same seamstress. She got the same dress made. She got a picture taken. And so it was put in her father's desk in the law firm. So what happened with us, that's the story about the dress. And we always remembered that. But I was her adopted sister. I'm her adopted sister from up north, because I'm not in Florida. I'm up in New York, New Jersey, New York area. And so, but we talked every week. The last time we actually spoke was Thanksgiving. And so very special woman, a very special woman. And yes, she did. She came to visit. Someone mentioned she had business trips, and she would come to New York, and she would meet my sister and I, and she would go to, she skied. She went to my sister's house in Vermont. So just a very special woman. So I just want us to remember that stained glass window every time you see one, and you happen to be a piece in that whole window that made Esther Maria. That's her name, Esther Maria. I would always say to her, don't forget where you came from. Tu nombre es Esther Maria. So, but just thank you. And thank you, Carlos. Thank you for what you've done for her. And she's up there in heaven and she is just smiling. So we celebrate that. So thank you.
Thank you so much. Really appreciate you being here. I have on my list next is Teresa Enriquez. Teresa is Executive Chief Assistant Public Defender in my office. And where are you? Oh, there you are. I see your screen now.
Hi,
so
everyone.
Go ahead, Teresa.
So it's so good to see everyone, to see current colleagues, to see former colleagues. Hey, Rory, Robert, Maria. So fabulous to see everybody. I wish it was under better circumstances, but I have to say, I would have done anything to be able to go disco dancing with Esther Maria. That would have, I would have paid money to do that. That would have been amazing.
Chemotherapy treatment can take.
I mean, I could just see her in that element. That would have been incredible. So I know Esther Maria Esther professionally, and I had worked with her for a few years. And I will tell you that I don't know that I necessarily met a feistier woman than Esther. And let me tell you something, we have an office that is jam-packed with feisty women. But this is a woman that is strong. She was strong in her opinions. She was, you know, if she disagreed with you, she did not care who she was talking to. She was going to let you know. And, you know, normally when somebody is that strong and that opinionated, you know, one might find that off-putting, but not with Esther, because Esther knew her area so well that when she said, no, that's not the way it can work, and this and that, and she would tell you, you're like, she knows her stuff. She knows what she's talking about. And we had so much trust in this woman when it came to the budget that, I mean, we would really follow her lead. And so when I personally heard of Esther's, you know, illness, you know, not only was I overwhelmed with concern for her, but I was overwhelmed with concern for us, because in my mind, nobody could do her job. Nobody could do her job as well as she did it. And like others have said, she was very serious, she was very devoted, she was good, but she also had that personality just below the surface. If you spend a little bit of time with her, you would get glimpses of it. And I was able to interact with her whenever, you know, I needed a creative way to, you know, get something accomplished. If we needed to hire somebody to work on a case, and this is somebody we were hiring in a different country, you know, she always provided incredibly good guidance. And I'll share one story in particular. I actually had attorney recruitment for the office. And there was one time that I went on a recruitment trip to Boston, and I don't know what happened, but I mean, the rates were so high. And of course we try to keep what we pay for hotels down to a minimum because our resources are limited. So I ended up sharing a room with my recruitment partner, and we ended up staying in a hotel room where the bathroom door would not close because it had swollen, like I guess from the humidity of the shower. So I go downstairs to complain, and they say, oh, don't worry, we'll send somebody up to shave a piece off the door so that it can close. When I opened the shower was so dirty. I mean, I'm like, I'm gonna have to wear socks in this shower. And I took photographs of everything because my plan was to come back to the office and show these photos to Esther, because I know Esther would be horrified. And so sure enough, I took photos, I came back, I showed them to Esther, and Esther was like, Teresa, why didn't you change hotel rooms? The truth is I spoke to my partner was like, fine, you know, we can stay here, it's no big deal. She's like, you don't have to stay in hotel rooms like this. This is unacceptable. I know I don't have to stay in hotel rooms like that. I know I can look for a better quality hotel room, but that wasn't the point. I wanted to share that with Esther because I knew the response that I would get, which was a very supportive response of, don't subject yourself to this. You don't have to stay in these types of places. And she was an ally in many ways. I mean, she was somebody that you can go to with sort of challenges or, you know, things that you were feeling. And she was like, I'm with you. I understand how you feel. You know, I support you. You don't have to do this. And so, you know, it was sort of like she was very humane in that way. On a side note, my elderly mother wanted to get a cat. So of course I have to go talk to Esther because Esther is the expert on all things cats. And she's like, Teresa, you cannot get a baby cat. You cannot under any circumstances. Don't you understand that that cat is going to outlive your mother? Do you realize how devastating that's going to be for the cat? And I just thought it's hilarious. It's not like the 81-year-old mother that, you know, needs to be invested in caring for this little cat. She was like all about the cat perspective. You know, we can't do that to the cat. And so, you know, even after she got sick, you know, when I first spoke to her about that, she was just very matter of fact about it. She's like, yeah, you know, it is what it is. I'm starting my chemo. And you know, she wasn't, as all of you know, she wasn't like overly dramatic, you know, never wants sympathy or anything like that. Strong, just strong person. So obviously it's a huge loss. It's a huge loss. I'm so sorry for everybody's loss. You know, it's hard to imagine the office without her, frankly. And she had an outsized impact on one of the most, if not the most important aspect of our office, which is budget. And so she will really, really be missed. Carlos, thank you for organizing this, you know, because we will obviously keep her alive in our memories.
Thank you so much, Teresa, for sharing that. I did want to mention it, you know, and then I'll ask if there's anybody else who wanted to say something. But Esther, I mean, we've all heard the feisty, we've all heard the strong-willed, and I have to share one small anecdote that Cecilia knows about that I was kind of shocked. So in the last, this happened in the last 2 weeks of her life. I had gone to her house and Tenzi and I were taking turns going over to her condo to, you know, make sure we cleaned out the kitty litter so that way everything would be clean, everything would be good. And the first day that I show up, Esther is in bed and Esther had not gotten up. But of course, you know, I went in with my mask, said hello, love you. And she's very thankful that I was there to do that. And then for those of you who may have visited the condo, I walk out, I go to the little closet to grab the tools needed to clean out. And all of a sudden I hear from the bedroom, Esther in a loud voice say, you have to use the brown bag. And of course, Cecilia is right next to me. And there were very specific instructions that Esther had for how to clean the litter. And Cecilia is right next to me. And I had just said to Cecilia, whispering, I just had whispered to Cecilia, I don't know why she uses a brown paper bag and the plastic bag. And so I don't know if she had bionic ears or she was going to get the sense that I was going to question the way she was doing it, which I always do. Anybody who works with me knows that I always question everything. But she is in the bedroom and she shouts out, you have to use the brown paper bag. So of course I'm looking at this and saying, oh my God, she has presence of mind. No matter how sick it is, she has presence of mind to do this. And then I swear to you, it must have been like 3 or 4 minutes later, as I'm almost done with the task of the 3 the litter boxes, that all of a sudden she says, don't forget to put it in the plastic bag.
Oh,
and I'm like, you know what? This is great. I feel good that I'm following her instructions and that she, you know, she is still aware of everything that's going on. So that was classic Esther. But I have to tell you how important it was for her to be feisty and for her to push back. As we, you know, as Rory mentioned to you, when we started out, when I started out as the public defender in 2009, we had a huge budget crisis. And of course, I had to get deep in the weeds to know everything that was going on. So when I was advocating for that in Tallahassee, for more funds in Tallahassee, I would feel like I know my office budget and I know everything. And she was wonderful in explaining every little detail that I needed to explain. And so, of course, now I had a little bit of knowledge. So fast forward 2 or 3 years later, when our budget is a lot better, and I had the understanding of what we can do with the budget, and I start coming up with to do something that was a little creative. I'll just put it like that. And Esther tells me, pushes back and says, you cannot do that. And I'm like, you know, so we go back and forth. And she's essentially, you can't do that. And I told her, my goal is to get more money in the pocket of staff. So whichever way, if it doesn't work the way I was thinking about it, I need a way. And she's like, you can't do that, you can't do it. Not even an hour later, she comes back and she goes, this is what we could do. So that give and take and that back and forth, even though, I mean, Rory knows and some other folks know that sometimes she would drive me crazy because we would butt heads over how to do something. It would always come out better because I learned from her, she learned from me, and it actually prepared me for when I knew in February that she was going to be gone for a little bit. I frankly had hope that she would come out of this, even knowing all the odds are against somebody with pancreatic cancer. I had hope. But all of a sudden I realized, oh my God, we're in the middle, particularly March, we're in the middle of COVID. We're having another budget crisis and I don't have Esther. And I can tell you one of the good things that happened is Esther prepared her number 2, who happens to be on this right now. Her name is Sonia. Esther prepared her well to be able to manage, even though, you know, Esther's job is huge. She was able to prepare Sonia well, and Sonia was willing and able to carry forward during a very difficult time, because all of a sudden she's not only doing her job, Sonia's job, but she was also doing Esther's job. And had it not been for how meticulous Esther was with everything, dotting every I, crossing every T, and then checking 3 times that you dotted every I and crossed every T, had it not been for that kind of training, I don't think that Sonia would have felt as comfortable in doing what she needed to do. And I wouldn't have felt as comfortable in relying on Sonia, other than knowing really well that Esther had done fantastic training. And the last thing that I want to mention to you about Esther, in case somebody else wants to say something, she was extremely generous. And most people in the office don't even know how generous she was, because she didn't want people to know that she was paying for their stuff. We have office picnics, and even though it was a small amount, $10 or $5 for a guest or whatever, that's still a lot of money for somebody who's making, let's say, $25,000 a year. You still have to take that money out of your pocket. Well, Esther consistently gave us extra money for other people, and she did not want to take credit for it. And she did that with the holidays. The holiday party a long time ago, people had to pay to go to the holiday party. She would cover a lot of people. And then she was extremely generous when we do our annual toy drive. Even though she would not go to our holiday party, she would buy a ton of toys or fund for purchasing a ton of toys for us to be able to contribute. So there were a lot of things that she would do. Thanksgiving lunches where she would cover for other people. And she was always a fighter for her people. The people in her area, I can guarantee you that the races that you guys got that were not legislative races was because Esther was raising hell with me. It was not because I noticed. It's not. It was really all her saying, I need more money for my folks, and I need to be able to do this. So she was an advocate for her folks. She's always been an advocate with cats. And the last comment is, I didn't even realize she was a customer of mine. Where she lives is half a block from one of the gas stations where I worked in Hialeah on 103rd Street. There used to be a gas station in front of the Holiday Inn. And Esther at some point had mentioned to me that, oh yeah, I've been to that Exxon gas station, but I had never been to her condo. So I didn't realize that it was at the end of the block. So even though I did not know her when she was a customer at Exxon, she had been in that area for a very long time. And I think everybody has said it, all extremely well. And, the fact, and I thank, let me see, who was it on? So Mary Vila Sanchez mentioned in the chat that she also went skiing with Esther.
Yes.
And we heard that. Hi, Mary.
Hi.
And at Club Med in Colorado. I mean, I would that is the most mind-blowing thing I've heard today. For you all to be doing that, it's just amazing to get to know her about that. And it turns out that my mom knew her dad, Salvador Lu. My mom knew her dad, and particularly from Cuba. He was a well-known radio personality, and that's how she knew him. So is there anyone else who wants to make any other comments? Oh yeah, Rick, I see you. Go ahead.
Hi. Thanks. I just wanted to, expand a little bit more about what Teresa said about Esther being feisty, and what Carlos said about how she could drive him crazy, because anything that was done, any decision that was made that impacted her world, you better mind your P's and Q's. You better make sure you consult with her, or you're going to hear about it in more ways than one. And so at sometimes when Carlos was at his wit's end and he had made a decision about something, we were talking about it in his office, and I'm sitting there listening. I'm thinking to myself, well, you know, when he tells her this, and then he would say, and Rick, you're going to go down and deal with her. And he would, you know, when he was up to here, he would send me down there. I'm thinking, oh my God, this is a no-win situation. And so I would walk into her office and I would try to break the ice with her. And I would always do the same thing. I'd kind of sheepishly go to the threshold and I'd knock on the little door thing, the door jamb, and she would look up and I said, hey, Esther, how you doing? And she would always do what I call the Esther nod. She would cock her head and go, okay. And that's, I thought, okay, here we go. And I would say to her, I don't believe you. I don't think you're doing okay. I said, you know, maybe Esther, if you open up these vertical blinds a little bit to get some sunlight in here, you'll feel better. And she would just smile, which was all I was looking for, to get that smile. And then I would tell her what the plan was or what Carlos was thinking. And if she wasn't with it, she would let me know under no uncertain terms. And so I was stuck between a rock and a hard place, trying to get her to do what Carlos wanted her to do, and at the same time having her push back, as Carlos put it. I'm thinking, well, you know, Esther, Carlos is the boss. And she said to me one time, she said, Rick, she looked at me, my mother told me that I was going to die with my mouth open like a fish out of water. And I thought, oh, okay, you know, well, I'll let Carlos know. No, she's, I'll tell him myself. But that's how she was, protective, feisty. And I only knew Esther in a professional way. But like so many others here, you saw her humanity. And you just had a sense that it was so deep. And I would look at the knickknacks on her desk, and I didn't know her well personally. It was professional, but I always had this need, like I was assessing the little things she had on her desk. Who is she? You know, does she have friends outside of work? Does she have family? And then I was so, when I heard she got, you know, when she was sick and how serious it was, I was so worried that there might not be anybody. And of course, her cousin stepped forward, and I met her cousin while waiting for the bus over at Sylvester. And I was so relieved, thinking she does. She's got a lot of support and a lot of loving family and friends. And so that brought me so much relief. And so, you know, I was just relieved myself personally that that was the case. And she had Carlos, who went above and beyond. And I feel fortunate and grateful that I knew her, even if it was only on a professional level. Thanks.
Thank you. I know we have been on for an hour, but I think Haylene, you wanted to share the, I think we either have a video or a PowerPoint with a bunch of photos that I think it would be important for folks to see. And thank you, Jonathan, for preparing this.
Aileen, if you could turn the audio on for us.
That's Cleo.
And that's Puma.
Yes.
And that was Peppa.
Mhm.
That's Puma again.
See the dog too?
Uh-huh. Yeah, look, bella. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So gorgeous.
Yeah, beautiful. Be- Yeah. Okay. Cuando se graduó. Salvador, nice. Oh.
Great smile.
Great. So thank you, Jonathan, for putting that together. We took the sound off because the sound was really loud earlier. But thank you so much for Jonathan, Sophia, all the folks who helped put that together and actually make this happen. We greatly appreciate you being a part of this. And you know, let's make sure we can live a full life like Esther did, and maybe put on some disco music after 5 today, and try to remember the best things and all the great things that Esther did with us and for us. So I think with that, we are going to close this, and thank you all so much for being here.
Thank you,
Take care.
Carlos.
Thank
All right.
Take care, everyone. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
God
Thank
bless
you. Thank you,
everyone.
Carlos.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Mhm. That is it, Bobby. Now we put leave. Vamos a ver si vemos espérate. Oh, a Cecil. Mira a Cecil ahí.
Click leave first, I think, at the bottom. Isn't that